standing in the Lady Chapel of the great Gothic Cathedral Notre-Dame de Reims, Our Lady of Reims. It was here on the 10th of April, 1678, that the long progress of John Baptist de La Salle towards priesthood was finally achieved. It was here he said his first Mass. It was a long journey. He'd received the tonsure at the age of 11 in the chapel of the Archbishop just beside this cathedral. There'd been the journey that he'd taken to Saint-Sulpice, his 18 months, then the death of his parents, the return to be father and mother to his younger sisters and brothers, the ability to resume his studies, and finally on this day in 1678, his first Mass. He'd been ordained priest the previous day in the Archbishop's chapel where he'd first received that tonsure. With him on this day were members of his family, and in particular his spiritual advisor and fellow canon, Nicolas Roland, who was to live only another 3 weeks or so, and who would lead de La Salle through the circumstances of his will and final wish to be associated with the Sisters of the Child Jesus, who had been founded here in Reims. This is an important place for La Sallians because 300 years afterwards, in 1951, the statue of Jean-Baptiste de La Salle, made by the president of the Academy, Le Jeune, was first displayed. It depicts Jean-Baptiste de La Salle, as you can see, with a child. It's a smiling face. It's the face of someone who, through what he calls God's providence, was to found a religious congregation of teaching brothers, so that his name is spread throughout many, many different countries of today's world. It's a precious place for La Sallians. It commemorates, first of all, the very altar, the very statue before which he said his first Mass. It commemorates, among other things, the presence of the Pope here, John Paul II, and a wonderful photo showing the Pope praying at this very shrine, and in the background this beautiful portrait, this beautiful statue of Le Jeune. Jean-Baptiste de La Salle was 15 years and 9 months old when he first sat in this position in the choir. He was now a canon of Reims. He came in through the canon's door around to the left-hand side, and each day, 5 times a day, he sat in this position in the cathedral and recited and sang the offices of the church. At 15 years, 9 months, it must have been something very, very significant for him to wear his red ermine canon's cloak, to come in even from his studies at the Collège des Bons Enfants and actually take part in the church ceremonies here. He was to do this for 16 years, and in some sense, although he resigned his canonry, much to the displeasure of his archbishop, he was always referred to as the canon of Reims. This particular position, with its beautiful view of the rose window, etc., must have been for him initially an example of what the rest of his life would be, a member of this famous college of canons, perhaps later a priest in this cathedral, perhaps one day archbishop, who knows? Perhaps that was his dream, but that was not the dream that Providence had for him.